So we've covered NPCs, P zombies, hyperreality, all topics associated with simulation theory. But we still haven't defined what the simulation actually is. Maybe because we live in a world that I believe was designed. It just feels like a simulation because it was designed by an architect that many of us call God. But within that design, there are rules. And I believe that there are invisible moderators, fallen angels, demons, evil spirits, things like that, who have used those rules of this design to enslave us. Not really physically, but a spiritual and mental slavery, which seems to be much worse. Anyway, today I want to talk about something else that you may want to consider when venturing out into the world. Have you ever had moments where the world feels like it's speaking directly to you? Maybe you keep seeing the same number over and over, like 11:11 on the clock, or randomly run into someone who gives you exactly the advice you needed to hear. I can't tell you how many times people have commented and said that a video I uploaded came at exactly the right time. Maybe you think about something and suddenly a stranger in the grocery store starts talking about that exact topic. But more often it comes through the media, right? You'll see a reference to it on your social media feed, whatever that is, or it is mentioned in a movie or TV show you're watching, and you laugh and say, wow, I can't believe I was just thinking about that. Or just talking to my friend about that. It happens all the time. What is that? It happens way too often for it to be some phenomenon. You see, they are not really telling us how our world works. At first you brush it off as coincidence, but over time the patterns become too obvious to ignore. It feels like reality is responding to you, right? Like some hidden force is leaving breadcrumbs, guiding you towards something, or maybe keeping you distracted. Maybe those freak occurrences are supposed to happen. Maybe that is part of the design, and maybe we are supposed to have the ability to manipulate the world as we see fit. Just like the concept of the one in the Matrix. But for the majority of us, this ability is dormant because we were never taught how to use it. We were never taught how the world is truly designed to work. This is what I call the hidden language of the simulation. Once you start questioning reality, once you step outside the script, the world starts reacting in strange ways. Suddenly you see patterns, coincidences start stacking up. The right people seem to appear at just the right time. I want to break down how synchronicities might be programmed moments rather than divine interventions. The difference between angel numbers and glitch numbers, and whether certain people in your life are actually placed there by the system to influence your path. And finally, the idea that some NPCs aren't just background characters but tests, designed to challenge you in ways you may not have realized. Because once you start seeing the patterns, once you start decoding the language of the simulation, there's no one seeing it. You might as well learn the language, because once you're out, there's no turning back. We've all had those moments where something happens that feels too perfect to be a coincidence. You're thinking about an old friend, and out of nowhere, they call you. You keep hearing the same word or phrases in conversations, movies, books, right when you need to hear it. Or maybe you randomly meet someone who gives you exactly the information you were searching for. At first, these moments feel magical, like a higher power is guiding you, right? But what if that is the way this world was intended to work as part of the design? What if it is just an included feature of living in this reality? So what people call coincidences, let's call them synchronicities that aren't random at all. What if they are pre-coded triggers inside the simulation, designed to activate when a player reaches a certain level of awareness? Think of a video game. Some encounters are scripted. You walk into a certain area and suddenly an NPC appears with crucial information. What if reality works the same way? Where in the world did that person come from? When you start waking up, when you start to question the nature of reality, the system might respond by activating certain encounters, making sure you meet specific people, see certain signs, or experience just enough magic to keep you on a particular path. And that actually is what leads people to practice magic. But here's the dangerous part. Not all paths lead to freedom. If synchronicities aren't signs from the universe at all, but part of the simulation's control system, you keep the players engaged, not free. They're breadcrumbs, keeping you chasing after the next message, making sure you stay invested. But if you ignore them, if you refuse to react, do they disappear? Or does the system escalate, sending more dramatic synchronicities to pull you back in? Now, numbers are one of the most common ways people report receiving messages from the universe or the simulation, whatever you want to call it. Repeating numbers like 1111, 222, or 444 seem to follow people during major life events, moments of self-discovery, or personal crisis. Many call these angel numbers, believing they come from spirit guides or some higher intelligence trying to communicate. For example, 111 would mean a shift in consciousness, new beginnings. 222, alignment, an indicator to trust the process. 333 could be a symbol for guidance, protection, or some type of divine communication. But maybe these numbers are not from angels at all. What if they're just system markers, a way for the reality we live in to tag players who are becoming more aware, like hidden hints in a game that are designed and coded to appear when a player is approaching a major realization? If that's the case, then angel numbers aren't messages from outside the system. They're messages from inside it, keeping you within the borders of the game. Then there are the glitch numbers, the ones that feel off. Some people report seeing disturbing or unsettling numbers instead of comforting ones, like 666 or 000 or 404, like a system error code. Noticing time loops where the clock always stops on the same number. as if the game is lagging. Are they warnings? Even stranger, some people who actively stop following angel numbers say that they start seeing chaotic, scrambled sequences instead. Almost like the system is adjusting to their awareness. So what happens when the game realizes you're starting to figure it out? Here is something that people seem to be most curious about. And that is the way certain people seem to enter your life at exactly the right time. Sometimes they change your life for the better, introducing you to new ideas, inspiring you, or guiding you toward something greater. But sometimes the opposite happens. Just as you start waking up, questioning reality and breaking free from old patterns, someone appears who pulls you back in. Maybe it's an old friend who suddenly resurfaces and distracts you with old habits. Maybe it's a romantic partner who seems perfect, but somehow, some way derails all your progress. But you know, sometimes for some people it's like a boss who offers you a promotion right when you're thinking about quitting the system altogether. Are these people random? Or are they placed by the simulation? If reality is a controlled system, then it's possible that some people act as redirectors, appearing when necessary to keep players from leaving the game. The moment you're about to break free, the system spawns a perfectly timed distraction to pull you back in. It never fails. We've talked about NPCs before. Those people who seem completely unaware, who live their lives on autopilot. But what if some NPCs aren't just background characters? What if they are tests designed to challenge conscious players? Think about the hostile NPCs, people who suddenly become aggressive when you talk about deeper topics, or the gatekeepers, people who instantly shut down conversations about questioning reality, or even the scripted messengers, strangers who say something specific about your life as if they're following a pre-written dialogue. Programmed obstacles, mini boss fights. Reality isn't just a simulation. It's an interactive challenge. Once you start noticing these things, the synchronicities, the numbers, the scripted encounters, there's three things here. Is this a guiding force trying to help you wake up? Is it keeping you engaged but within the system's limits? Or is it sending messages from outside the simulation? Or maybe it's all of them. So when you see these messages, which ones do you trust? Because once you recognize the code, you stop being a passive player. And that's when the simulation really starts paying attention to you.